So let's go ahead and get into that because this is honestly probably my favorite thing that happened on the show. The confrontation between Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné that led to Britt Baker essentially challenging her to a match at All In. Now, it hasn't been made official just yet, but I think we all know it's going to be made official at some point. And the big thing that to take away from this, first of all, the Britt promo, she basically talked about the reason why she was gone because there really wasn't ever any clarity as to what was really going on with Britt Baker. Everybody was like, okay, she's injured, but there's so many specifics that we did not know. And I won't get into the medical details that she shared. You guys can watch the promo for that portion. But she basically said that she suffered what doctors were calling a mini stroke. And that is serious because Britt Baker's a young girl. She's, to having be dealt with something like that, where she was talking about having bad vision. She was talking about, I think she said her right arm was in pain, or I think her left arm or her right arm, one of her arms was in pain. And that's very serious, Kate. Like, let's kind of focus really quickly on that portion of it because I don't want to gloss over that because that is a serious topic.
Yes, that's a very, very serious thing to undergo, and she's very young to have it happen. AEW was very careful in their wording whenever she was asked about, I felt, by saying that she wasn't medically cleared. I don't think they even ever said outright injured, but medically cleared to me sometimes says that maybe there's something else going on that rather than like a torn ACL or a broken arm, and that was certainly the case here. That's an incredibly serious thing. It takes a ton of work to come back from if your symptoms are severe enough. And Britt's a tough SOB, man. She's been through a lot. So very happy that she was able to fully recover. Promos like this and whenever wrestlers share what they've been through medically are just such a reminder to me of like the amount of stress that a wrestler's body undergoes, whether it's like, well, tore my ACL, I'm out for however many months, or things like this, or heart conditions or whatever. Like there are so many physical, mental, and emotional stresses on wrestlers that we don't always consider. We just wonder where the heck they are when they aren't on our television. So very happy she was able to make a full recovery. I thought she looked great too, just like her conditioning in general. She looks wonderful. And I thought the return promo was really effective in the vulnerable, like, sharing that she did with us about the medical condition that, of course, the shit talking we got into with Mercedes. But you're right. This was something that was an extremely serious and unorthodox thing as far as like the wrestling spectrum goes, for sure.
Right. So it's one of those things where instantly you hear a story like this and you're like, okay, well, one, I hate to say that she's a babyface because of it, because it was like a real thing that happened to her. But it
is, yeah.
Right. But it is, right. And that's how the promo came across, where it's like, okay, like you can't go out and, because previously Britt Baker was a heel in AEW. And so you don't want to necessarily just go out there and boo her. That's not going to happen. Sure. So, we basically set the tone, and we also found out why she was gone. And I think that was important because she had to connect with the crowd on a serious level. And I think she did just that. But here's the thing. So Mercedes Moné interrupts her promo. She comes out all fancy in her fancy car. She gets greeted by the EVP. She's getting the full VIP treatment. And all of a sudden, it's like if Britt wasn't even there, because they just brought out all of her decor and started putting it in the ring for her celebration. And then what we got here, guys, is exactly what I wanted out of this whole feud, Kate. This is what I needed. I had said this last week with Reg, where I had said the reason why I'm interested in this is because I want to see how they're going to interact with each other, because they are both big stars in terms of Mercedes has done it all. She was in WWE. She's as big as they get for the women. And Britt is also a big star, but within the AEW universe. And so I want to see those things, those two people clash here. And so anyways, the promo that we got here, I kind of thought that Britt won this. I mean, she basically told her, I want you at All In. And I wrestled at the first All In and at the last All In when you were a broken bitch, basically watching.
Not a bitch in this. They're learning from Okada.
Yes.
Bitch lines are getting over.
I think I heard bitch in this segment more than I have my entire life. But anyways, like, she gets in her face. And at this point, you can really feel the intensity between both of them. And the one thing that I don't know how you felt about this, I'm going to get your thoughts also, because she had said, Mercedes told Britt, oh, get in line. And Britt said, what line? I kind of thought that one was sort of undermining her as a champion, because technically, or not undermining her as a champion, but undermining the entire women's roster just a tad bit, because technically all the women should be in this line to try to get their hands on the AEW Women's Championship. So that was the only part I didn't like about it. But to be honest, it didn't really matter because everything else was so good. And the moment that Mercedes kind of did like the talk to the hand thing to her, so disrespectful. I loved it. How'd you feel about this?
I loved pretty much everything we got out of this. I loved the invite of shit talking that Britt did, of saying, calling out like the piped in CEO chants into her theme, and like all those little jabs of like manipulating your fan base and all these little things. And then it was like, that wasn't even the reason that Mercedes came down. She came down for her own championship celebration. I loved the interaction with the Bucks, because I feel like so many people have been saying, you got the VPs and you got the CEO and they're all have gold, like they got to connect, right? So really liked that they did that. I thought it was nice fluidity to transition to the ring with her celebration. And then the actual fire that was back and forth, you could just tell, man, Mercedes, lovely as a face. She's meant to be a heel. And she, even at Forbidden Door, like when she was getting booed there, and it was very playful. It was mostly about the Celtics. I can't convey that enough, that the energy in the room while booing Mercedes was like basically a referendum on Boston sports in the New York area. But you could just tell she was like loving it in those moments. And then to see her come out and kind of lean into that more in this, knowing that Britt was going to be super over, she just belongs as kind of like that cocky heel side of things. I think this is going to be so much fun. I don't think Mercedes needs to be a full heel either. Just leaning that way is good enough for me with this, but
I think she should be a full heel, Kate. Full on, like, just go with it, because the boost that she got today, like the way that people were just wanting to, I mean, they were telling her to shut the F up during her promo. So lean in all the way now. Like, you got to go for it, especially when you have the character of a CEO. Let's be real. True. We all hate corporate America. We all hate our CEOs and our bosses and all of that. So it's a very easy person and very easy character, to want to boo.
Agreed there. And I think this could be the feud that gets her there. I just don't think we need her. I don't think we need like a moment like we got with MJF tonight. Like, I think this might have been, maybe that is that moment, was just like more shit talking. But I think what I mean more is that like she can just tweak where she's at. She doesn't need to make a ton of adjustments from a character standpoint. So it's not anything that's gonna need any extra gasoline thrown on the fire. Like, I think this will just kind of take her there and float her there a little bit easier. But this was really, really fun. I loved that they were both kind of right. Like, I love promos where you can see both sides of things. And this women's division, from where it was to now, I mean, the reactions that this crowd was giving both of these women is something that we were pulling teeth to get like a year ago. So just really, really cool. This feels like a marquee event for All In. Like, this feels, I don't think it'll co-main event, but you certainly could make the argument that it should. Like, this feels like a very, very, very big deal. So I love it. Makes me very happy to see it. I thought both of them did really well with this.
I think one of the things that you hit on too is that the women's division, I don't want to say they needed this, but damn, this feud is going to help accelerate the women's division in terms of like drawing more interest, because right now there's a lot of good stories to tell and a lot of stories that are good that we just came off of, because Mercedes' first program was with Willow Nightingale. And that, if you recall, got the biggest reaction at the pay-per-view when they wrestled each other. And to see that in comparison to everything else, like, I thought they even got like they just had such a big reaction, like even outshining the main event in terms of how people were reacting to Willow and to Mercedes. So you're coming off of that hot feud for Mercedes. But on top of that, you still have the stuff with Toni Storm, with Mariah May. So right now they're in a situation where there is more than one thing that's interesting in the women's division. And we weren't, like you said, pulling teeth before, where we weren't always getting this type of scenario for the women's division. But right now, it feels good. It feels like we're telling a bunch of stories. People are getting over, and Mercedes is doing what she needs to do.
100% with you on that. And we have these peripheral stories to the title too, which we were definitely not getting. We've got the Owen, we've got Serena Deeb doing her stuff. We've got Deanna and Thunder Rosa, who can't get enough of hating each other. And I can't get enough of them hating each other either. So very, very refreshing in that regard. Very, very happy to see where this division is cooking right now, because they are.